Hi there. So today what I thought we'd do is we would make a journal or a notebook or a sketchbook or a scrapbook or whatever it is you would like to call it out of recycled papers. So for a sort of World War II based kind of make, mend and do sort of theme, if you think about how with the rations lots of things weren't accessible in the shops and things, so you can make this out of recycled book pages, posters, bits of gift wrap, bits of wallpaper. Old envelopes are quite good because then you can have little pockets in your book that you can pop things in, bits of tracing paper, bits of colour paper, any sort of offcuts that your teacher might have in a rough paper drawer or scrap paper drawer maybe in the classroom. It doesn't even matter actually if all of your pages aren't quite the same size, so it does help with the stitching, but if you do have some that are a little bit different in size, it does make your book a little bit more interesting. So this is one, you can see that, just check, that one of my GCSE students has done. And this technique that we're going to use to stitch it together is a Japanese binding technique. It's actually a technique that is still used to bind books today. If you look carefully at one of your reading books, you'll notice that parts of the pages are actually stitched together, and then the bundles of stitched pages are glued to the spine of the book. So now we have machines to do this, but traditionally this would have been done by hand. So I'm going to teach you how to do that today. So what you need, I'm just going to move my camera down to my desk so that you can see that. There we go. Is some pieces of paper, preferably, like I said, the same size, just to make life a little bit easier. So I've got a bit of wallpaper, I've got a bit of magazine. What else have I got in here? A bit of a book page, some coloured bits of paper out of my sort of offcuts. I think that might be a page from a dictionary. And as long as all of your pages are sort of level at this left-hand side, if you like, if I turn it around actually, then it'll be your left, which would be better. Okay, down this side, that's where the stitching is going to be. So as long as all the pages are flush at one edge, okay, we should be okay when it comes to sewing. So if you work A5 size, all right, which is 21 centimetres by 15, so that's half the size of A4, okay, then we're going to use this Japanese sort of binding technique. I think it's called stab binding, and we're going to measure out 5 holes. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to measure 1 centimetre in, all right, and draw ourselves a line. So we've almost got like a centimetre margin down one side, because we don't want the holes right to the edge, otherwise when we're threading our needle we're going to slip out of there and the paper could rip. So what we're going to do is you're going to measure 1 centimetre in, okay, from one end, and then you're going to measure 4.5, 4.5, 4.5 and 4.5, okay, and that should leave you with about 1.5 centimetres at the bottom. So I'm going to let you carefully measure that out, so I'll just go over that again. So using your ruler, and make sure you start from your ruler, all right, where the first little line is, not the edge of your ruler, okay, to measure 1 centimetre in. So if you do that sort of 3 times at various intervals down that left hand side of your book, okay, and then draw a line, and then like I said, from one end we're going to measure 1 centimetre, and then it's going to be 4.5, do a little line, 4.5, another little line, 4.5, another little line, and then last of all 4.5, okay, and that should give you 5 little marks on your piece of paper. Now, holding your pages together, and if you've got a paper clip, that's probably a good thing to use. So pop a big paper clip onto your pages, get yourself a blob of blue tack, and then under each of those little marks you're going to do, using a sharp pencil, you're going to make a hole. Just makes the sewing bit a little bit easier if the holes are already there. So really give your pencil a good wiggle through all the paper into that blue tack, and then you'll see you've got 5 holes on the side there. Okay, and then we're ready for some sewing. So we're going to use a piece of embroidery thread, which is quite strong, and it comes in lots of different colours, and we're going to thread our needle. Now, there is a particular structured order which hole we come up and when, okay, so do follow along. I have sent your teacher a PowerPoint as well, so they can print off some handouts and have that up on the board too, but you can pause this video and rewind the instructions as many times as you like. So we're going to start from the back and come up through the top hole. Don't pull your thread all the way through though, because you'll need that to tie a knot when you get back to the top of the book. So we've come up through hole number 1. You're going to wrap it around the end of the book and then come back up again through that first hole. So we get that little stitch on the top. So if you can see from this one, look, we have got stitches at the top and at the bottom. Each little hole we've got a stitch coming out from the side, and we've got a big stitch, okay, joining them all together. Okay, so we've gone round the top. We're now going to go round the side. So again, we're going to come up from the back. Okay, so we've got the top and the side. We're then going to go down into hole number 2. Oops. My needle's come off, just a moment. So down into hole number 2 and then back into hole number 2 from the front. So we go round the side of that book. There we go. Okay, we're now at the back of the book, so we're going to go up through hole number 3. And this time straight down into hole number 4. There we go. All right, so it should look like that so far. We're then going to go round the side of hole number 4. So back into the hole number 4 from the front to get that little stitch on the side. There we go. And then we come up through the last hole, right at the bottom of our book. There we go. And we're going to do the same thing we did at the top. So we're going to go round the bottom and back up through hole number 5 to secure the bottom. We're then going to go around the side and back up through hole number 5. Okay, so already it's quite secure, but you'll see now actually that on our way back up to the top to tie off our thread, we're then going to fill in all the bits that we've missed out, which is why it's done in a... So from hole number 5, we're going to go back into hole number 4. That fills that side in. If you turn over, okay, you'll see that we need a stitch here. So we're going to come up into hole number 3. Round the side of hole number 3, look, we're missing a stitch. So round the side, there we go, that fills that bit in. And then the bit we've got left, look, we're going to go down into hole number 2. Some of you are probably figured this out for yourself by now. Every time I've done this workshop in a primary school, somebody's always gone, oh, Miss Neil, I've figured out how to do it. We're just going back and filling it in. So if you turn it over, look, the last stitch that I need is back into hole number 1. So I'm just going to go back up through that hole. And then what I can do is I can take my thread off my needle. Those 2 ends I can now tie together in a knot the way you do your shoelaces, and I can trim that off. There we go. Pair of scissors. Snip. Take off my paper clip, and I've got a handy little book that I can stick things in. I can write in. It could be a scrapbook. I can stick objects in it. Anything you like. Okay. Now hopefully you can have a go at that. Again, like I said, pause it as you go and use the handout that I've sent to your teacher as well. And hopefully you'll have a fantastic little book, and I look forward to seeing what it is you put in them.